A very happy Monday to you, and thanks for joining us tonight on UpNorthLive Unscripted at 6:30. I hope you all had a wonderful weekend, and hopefully you weren't too upset when you woke up to some more snow this weekend and this morning. What a fun little surprise for our fourth full day of spring. Not really a surprise when we have a meteorologist like Joe Charlevoix who did tell us this was expected to happen. But even when we have a warning, it still is upsetting, at least for me, when I wake up and see even more snow.
Fun, right?
So fun.
I think the sentiment of most people by this time of the year is, yeah, I'm ready now. We had our winter fun.
It's time to move on.
Time to start warming up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, we have interesting weather over the next week, Maya. We have some snow, which will carry over tonight through tomorrow. We'll look at that. But later in the week, we're going to have a front over us, and then cold air north, warm air coming from the south. So you know what that means. Could be some messy weather late in the forecast. So we'll talk about that and how much more snow tonight and tomorrow we expect coming up a little later.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. Our top story tonight is an update from Presque County, a story that we first shared with you at the beginning of the month. A teenager who was riding a dirt bike hit an elderly man, and that man later died from his injuries. Well, now both the suspect and his parents are facing criminal charges. Our Daniel Zivian was at the scene and breaks down the case for us.
State police say it happened around dusk, just south of Rogers City, all witnessed by a nearby trooper. An 87-year-old man crossed the street to his mailbox carrying a flashlight and was run down by a dirt bike with no headlights on.
The elderly man was transported to the hospital with life-threatening injuries and later succumbed to those injuries on March 5th.
Police allege that a 15-year-old was driving the dirt bike, already violating Michigan law by driving an ORV under the age of 16 without direct supervision. The teen is now being charged as a juvenile, including 3 felonies for causing death.
The charges that you initially file are not necessarily the charges that the juvenile in this case would end up with. You never know where the case will end up taking you and what charges might be dismissed, or potentially even new charges could be added, but those are the charges that we felt were on very solid ground to put forth in this case.
The court will also address how the suspect came to be riding the dirt bike at all. Both parents were charged with allowing their child to operate the bike. Their next court appearance is scheduled for April 1st.
We are going to balance accountability with rehabilitation of the juvenile. There's a lot of information and factors that play into that calculus, and we're very thoughtfully and carefully considering all of the information available to us now and all the information that is still forthcoming.
This is a tragic situation that we're dealing with, not only with the elderly man that has passed, but also with a juvenile that has his or her whole life ahead of them. And now, you know, we have to move forward with this. So it's just very important that we're all trying to be safe if you're operating an ORV.
In Rogers City, Daniel Zivian, UpNorthLive News.
And Daniel is joining us live now for more on this story. And Daniel, I want to start our conversation kind of where your story left off. Did Lieutenant Miller mention any safety tips for when you are operating an ORV in Michigan?
The main thing, Maya, the main thing is you need to have lights. That's a really big sticking point here. The suspect is alleged not to have had lights on his or her dirt bike going along the county road. So you need to have lights. Not only that, a half hour before dusk and a half hour after dawn, you still need to have those lights going. And so if you're somebody who's traveling up this way on even a snowmobile or on some other type of ATV, check the location you're going to, especially the counties. They have different ordinances. You need to do some research before you go up there and learn the rules, and so something like this doesn't happen.
Sure. And you mentioned in your story that the juvenile involved in this situation was only 15. You have to be 16, or do you have to have a driver's license? What are the rules? This is something I probably should know, but I never really rode an ORV growing up. So what are the laws when it comes to age of being able to ride an ORV?
It's the same for me. I have unfamiliarity with ORVs as well. So as I understand it, you've got to be 16 years or older, and you need to have I don't know if the safety course applies for after you've turned 16 or not, and I'm not too familiar with the license aspect because, again, this suspect was under 16. If you're under 16, you need to have direct supervision while you're driving. Obviously, that wasn't the case here. And you also need to have passed a sort of safety course, and you need to be able to present the materials of that course that you're given to a police officer or any other law enforcement official if you're stopped along the road. Lieutenant Miller could not confirm for me whether or not this suspect had anything to do with that safety course. There's no point. We can't really speculate on that front. It never came up. But at the very least, this suspect was not supervised and was 15 years old. And that's just already a non-starter.
And in your story, you had a list of potential charges that this juvenile could be facing. But since they are a juvenile, do you know like how this could impact potential sentencing?
Yeah, so sentencing is interesting here. When we cover big crimes and felonies, especially, homicides and manslaughters, for adults, there are more set guidelines that people are familiar with. We're looking at such and such min-max in such and such place. Here, it's more at the judge's discretion whether or not the juvenile goes to a detention center, which is very likely, but also likely a different type of rehabilitation. It's really early in the case, and of course, you may have heard the prosecutor, Zach McLennan, mentioning, wanting to strike a balance as the case went on. It's too early to say for sure what will be the right remedy if there is a conviction.
Sure. And then another kind of unique thing about this specific incident is we now know that the parents of this juvenile are also facing potential charges, and that seems kind of like a rarity. You don't hear that too often.
It is. I suppose it is something you don't hear too often. I did ask if there was anything novel or unusual about this charge being laid. McLennan said not really. This is a case, I think people hear about the parents being charged and a kid committing a crime, and they're thinking of the Oxford shooting. That's a very reasonable thing to think about. But in this case, there's nothing novel or unusual going on. McLennan says this was a pretty obvious move based on state law that they had available to them. You will notice that the parents were not charged. They were charged with a misdemeanor of allowing the juvenile to operate the vehicle. Causing death was not included there. It is a misdemeanor for allowing the operation of the vehicle at all. And this misdemeanor is a 90-day in, I forget if it's jail or prison, but it's a 90-day misdemeanor with a $50 to $1,000 fine as a possible sentencing guideline there.
And I know you mentioned a date in your story, but what are the next steps for this particular case?
Well, you're catching me here on, I got to do it off the top of my head. I believe it's April 1st is the next hearing for the parents in district court in Presque County, and that's in Rogers City, of course, at the one big building. Of course, we don't know what the date would be for the juvenile. That sort of stuff you're just not supposed to know. These are identities you have to keep a secret. It's just part of the ethics of what the prosecutor does and what we do as broadcast journalists when it's a juvenile case like this, where he's being charged as a juvenile. Being charged as an adult does change some things. But so we don't know the next court date there, but the parents are back in court April 1st.
All right, Daniel, anything else that you want to mention about this particular story that we haven't talked about yet?
There's the case of the 87-year-old gentleman who is coming out of his house to cross the street to go to his mailbox. It's really important to just emphasize again, as the police understand it, he was carrying a flashlight. This is a man who, although he may have gone out later in the evening, and this was all before the clocks changed. It was darker around 7:00 p.m. When this happened. So, one could question the wisdom of whether or not you should go out that late if you live on a road like that. But let's not victim blame here. They say he was carrying a flashlight. He took his precautions. You couldn't have seen someone on a dirt bike coming up on you like that with no headlights at dusk in the winter.
Sure. And like we heard Lieutenant Miller say, this is just a really tragic case for everyone involved. Of course, that man who unfortunately lost his life and his family, but also for this 15-year-old juvenile who now has to figure out a way to move forward after this horrendous tragedy happened.
Yeah, there are no winners and losers in a case like this. Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. Thanks so much, Daniel, for joining us. I'm sure we will be coming to you in the future with any more updates on that case. All right, our next story takes us to Grand Traverse and Leelanau County. So this morning, officials celebrated the start of what they say is an essential transformation. It's a story that we've been previewing for quite some time now, and it is finally getting started. Construction underway at the M72 M22 rebuilding project, and our Allie Baxter was there this morning for the project kickoff.
You don't just decide one year you're going to do a $26 million project.
It took multiple years of collaboration and discussions to get here.
This is going to be a $25.8 million essentially transformation of this 2-mile segment of M72 and M22, starting in the city and running through Elmwood Township.
It's always sunny and 70 in Elmwood. And I can get away with that because the meetings aren't usually here.
On a snowy and blustery Monday, legislators, MDOT staff, Elmwood Township, and Traverse City officials gathered to celebrate a project aiming to meet some of their top priorities.
Traffic is one of them. Rebuilding the entire roadway, which is many decades old, definitely needs the improvements. And then improvements for transit users, beta, the TART trail expansion, extension of sidewalks. We're filling in portions of sidewalk that didn't exist before.
In some ways, this project is already well underway. Utility relocation completed throughout the winter and spring required the removal of some trees along this corridor.
Dozens in some locations, but we are intending to replace a lot of those trees in roughly a 1-to-1 ratio. And we'll be working with communities to see if others are required during restoration work.
In northern Michigan, Allie Baxter, UpNorthLive News.
And while this project is ongoing, one lane of traffic in each direction will be open at most times. It is expected to be complete by mid-November. And of course, a big part of this project is that roundabout at the intersection of M72 and M22. And roundabouts are one of those things that you either love them or you hate them. So we want to know how you feel about them. Our question of today is, what do you think about roundabouts? Scan the QR code on your screen right now. That'll take you to our website where you can vote. We have 473 votes, and at this point, it looks like 41% of voters hate them, 37% love them, and 22 are indifferent. So a lot of mixed votes here. We'll be sure to take a look at the final result at the end of the show. We also have a whole lot of comments on our Facebook page, almost 200 comments, so I will try to read some of those, but you can join the conversation by heading to our Facebook page, UpNorthLive. Okay, before we take a break, we have one story to share with you about a shelter dog who is trying to make the most of every moment with a little help from her friends here in northern Michigan. So meet this sweet girl. Her name is Miracle. She came to the Little Traverse Bay Humane Society after being surrendered by her owner. It's after Miracle was recently diagnosed with lymphoma. Now, while this diagnosis comes with a poor long-term prognosis, most dogs live just 2 to 3 months following diagnosis. So now the Humane Society is calling on the community to help Miracle check off a few things from her bucket list. To do that, the Little Traverse Bay Humane Society created Miracle's Bucket List. It has a collection of 10 fun and love-filled experiences that the shelter is hoping to check off in the coming week. So to see that bucket list and for more information on how you can help this sweet girl complete the bucket list, head to our website, UpNorthLive.com. All right, let's take a quick commercial break, but coming up in just a few minutes, we'll bring back in Chief Meteorologist Joe Charlevoix. I'm sure you're all wondering, when will the snow end? Hopefully, he'll have some answers straight ahead.
I'm Jada Johnson from Big Boys TV, and the Fish and Game Report is sponsored by Johnson's Propane.
We are starting off the week that is spring break for a lot of people across northern Michigan, and it looks anything but spring-like outside. We are still getting more snow. Joe, when will we see an end to all that white stuff falling from the sky?
You know, I'm going to remind you and our viewers of this in July when it gets so hot.
Yeah.
Right?
Always have something to complain about here in northern Michigan.
Yeah, but it is, you know, we are into spring, and we said this off the top. I think a lot of folks are like kind of ready maybe for some warmer weather and things like that. So let's take a look. Our three big things in weather. Number one, the snow, to answer your question, Maya, the snow will start to taper off by tomorrow night. But this is lake effect snow, so it's not like a storm over us. It'll be hit and miss snow at times. And then we do have 2 dry days on tap, and it's going to be Wednesday and Thursday. So maybe a little bit of sunshine. And then active and messy weather is on the horizon too. That looks to be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right into the weekend. We could see anything from snow and sleet to freezing rain or rain. They're all possible late week. Tonight, though, low pressure has passed by to the east of us. There it is, spinning away. That brought some snow last night through the day today. Now behind that, we do have some lake effect snow. So as we take a look here, you can see a little bit of, as far as our weather headlines, there are 2 counties, Kalkaska and Antrim counties, where we do have a winter weather advisory. Locally, 2 to 3 inches of snow here tonight. The roads will be slippery. There's radar currently. The big picture here, and you can see the snow kind of swirling around that area of low pressure. We're on the back side of this now. And you see the purple shaded areas is where we have pockets of heavier snow from near Houghton Lake into Lake City, north of Lake City, all the way up through Grayling, Petoskey, Sheboygan, and then also across parts of the UP. Some snow falling there tonight too. The other thing, it's been near freezing today. These are the current temperatures as of right now, and a lot of 32s on there, meaning that we're looking at temperatures right near freezing. So it's been kind of a slushy snow because it's been kind of a wetter type snow because of the temperature. What happens tonight, lake effect snow will continue at times off and on. Right there, there's tomorrow morning. Still some snow in spots. And then late in the day tomorrow, after 5, 6 o'clock, we'll see a pretty quick end to the lake effect snow right there, and then a quiet day expected on Wednesday, as we mentioned earlier. So if you're wondering about how much additional snow in the short term, an inch or 2 tonight, maybe locally more, parts of Antrim and Kalkaska counties, and there's the total snowfall, maybe another inch or so in a few areas tomorrow. Late week, we talked about that. It looks like a front will set up shop over the area. Here's Friday, some snow, maybe some sleet, rain, perhaps some freezing rain into Saturday, Sunday, there's Sunday morning, and even into Monday, chance for some messier weather. So something to keep an eye on, especially next week. A lot of folks traveling, maybe coming back from spring break. Well, there it is. Look at Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Snow or freezing rain or sleet or rain, all possible for Friday through the weekend. So we'll keep an eye on that. But at least Wednesday, Thursday look dry. No big warm up, though, on the way, Maya, anytime, at least in this forecast.
Great.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye.
Summertime is just a few months away.
That's it. Yeah.
We can do this. We can get through this. All right, thanks so much, Joe. Let's take another quick break, but don't go anywhere just yet. Sports is right around the corner. Stay with us. Today in sports, Harrison sits down with a former Traverse City West Titan who is now a member of Lake Superior State's Elite 8 team in Division II basketball. Here's that conversation.
Pretty exciting stuff. You guys are in the Elite 8 for Division II.
It's been a bit of a whirlwind, obviously missing a lot of class and stuff the last few days, but it's been fun, man. I wouldn't have it any other way.
No doubt the school is happy to have you guys doing so well. You know, I think a lot of people, if you ask them about LSSU, they picture it being a hockey school. How nice is it to know that you're adding credibility to the basketball program, putting them in this grand stage?
Yeah, no, it's been great. It's, the campus has been awesome. A lot of support. We had a real nice send off for the last round, and then they welcomed us back too. A lot of high fives around teachers, and everybody's really taking an interest to it. So that's been cool.
Is that something you saw possible for LSSU even way back then?
I think I'd be lying if I said I would have predicted this, I would say that if you told me this was how the 5 years was going to play out, I would sign up for it every time. But I remember those first 2 years, the program was not necessarily at this level yet. And I even remember watching, these Elite 8 games, that'd be great to get to that stage, but you never know if it's going to happen or not. I still hear a lot from, a lot of people around the Traverse City area. Obviously, we're still Northern Michigan, as well as, Blake Cassidy, another Northern Michigan guy on our team right now. Xander Okerlund, who just graduated this past spring and was, big in our Sweet 16 run last year. No, it's definitely cool to be, bringing that Northern Michigan basketball, kind of bringing it to that spotlight a little bit.
What are you most looking forward to in taking part in this prestigious stage for college hoops?
Yeah, I think really just trying to soak it all in, this is obviously a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but anytime you, as a competitor, can say, hey, we're 3 games away from, everyone's ultimate goal, I think that's a really cool opportunity. I'm just excited for this opportunity and to go down there and give it our best shot and, kind of see what happens.
Salon services are furnished by Epiphany Advanced Academy in East Acme.
Our question of the day certainly has a lot of people talking. What do you think about roundabouts? We have 506 votes. 41% say they hate them, 37% love them, and 22% indifferent. Moving over to Facebook, a lot of comments there too. Philip says, I'm not a big fan of roundabouts. However, there are advantages to them. Ron says, love them. You don't end up sitting at a red light when there's no traffic, but they need to consider there are some semi-trucks that have a difficulty getting through them and should be made wider. Jenny says, I cry when I approach a roundabout. Eric says they're great as long as people understand them. Casey says he loves them. They're so much better than traffic lights in certain scenarios. Join the conversation on our Facebook page because we are all out of time here on Unscripted. But thanks so much for joining us. We hope to see you back here at 11 o'clock.